Hello YouTube! So it's been a while since I've made a video, but I bought a new toy, so I think it's time that we do one. Now what I bought is a CNC, well, engraver, milling machine, router, whatever you want to call it. I'm not sure what the actual difference is between all those, other than the power level and stuff, the output. But this is the CNC 3018 Pro, new 2018 upgraded model, whatever, yada yada yada. I'll throw in a link to the exact one that I bought, but this particular one seems to be in a lot of places on Amazon and eBay and so forth. And it comes packaged in this foam with just these pieces stacked on top of each other in a big box. So let's have a look at what we've got here. First of all, we've got the bed here, and that's not particularly interesting. It's just a piece of aluminum, I would guess, with these slots in it to attach your work pieces, either via vices or various other clamping mechanisms. So that's the first piece. Now, I think it was called a router on let's see, where did I put that? Oh yeah, it was called a router on Amazon, but it's really only for engraving. At least in the form that it comes, because these work pieces, bits, tools, I guess you call it in the CNC world. I don't know if you can see that. They're just small pointy bits. Yeah, they're only really good for engraving. If you were to actually try to mill something with these, it'd take days. But that may be fine, because the motor may not have enough power to really do it much faster, even with a proper bit. And we have the frame here. It's some sort of plastic, acrylic probably. Seems to be cut out in pieces and layered. Looks like it's glued together in layers here. Don't know how well that picks up on camera, but that's the part of the frame, at least. The other part of the frame is these aluminum extrusions. I guess they're called T-slots because of the T there, if you can see that. Got a few pieces of those. We've got some rods for the moving parts. Some straight linear rods, not linear rods, but straight smooth rods, and some threaded ones. And we've got some mounting points with some, it doesn't feel like bearings, it seems like it's bushings, so there's actually some balls in there. You probably can't see that on camera, but there are actually some balls in there. It's not, this part is not spinning, the rod will spin inside it. So we've got, let's see, 5 of those, 4 in one size, and then a smaller one that's actually threaded inside. Okay. So that's the main parts for assembling the actual frame of the thing. Then the last box here is mainly the electronics. We have the actual, well, on a 3D printer this would be the extruder assembly, but I guess this is the motor assembly or tool holder. It comes pre-assembled, that's nice. And this is the motor that goes in there, and then it clamps up with that screw. And the thing here to hold the tools is actually pre-mounted, which is also nice. this little collet design where, if you can see that, there's a collet in there and that clamps down as you tighten it onto your tool. It's nice. It's pre-assembled. It's actually assembled with a grub screw, so it's not that firmly attached, to be honest. 2 grub screws, one on each side at least. Some of these I know you will have to, on some models I've seen, you need to actually mount this tool holder yourself, and it's a press fit where you have to heat up the tool holder to expand it so it can fit down onto the shaft of the motor and then clamp on that way. And that's this is obviously a lot easier to when it comes to assembling. So we've got the motor assembly and the motor and so on. We've got a power supply. Let's see what this is for. It's a light-on power supply. That's at least a brand that I've heard of. It's a variable input, so 100 to 240 volts input, 1.3 amps, 50-60 hertz, output 24 volts, 1 amp, so only 12 watts. If this whole thing runs on 12 watts, I'll be quite impressed, but we'll see. Then the motor is actually even more anemic than I would have thought, if that's the case, but we'll see. Then this little pouch here is, oh, that looks fancy, right? Well, it's just, it's a plug converter, universal travel adapter, and surge protector. I wouldn't trust the surge protection, but whatever. So I think, well, the plug pack already has the right plug for me, Euro plug, but it's just your standard figure 8 kettle lead here, which we can focus on that. Yeah, just a standard figure 8 kettle lead. So you know, you probably have one laying around somewhere in the house. We've got some steppers. Looks fairly typical steppers, slightly smaller than on my, no, about the same size on my 3D as on my 3D printers. We've got a bag of screws and springs and bushings, all for the assembly, and it looks like it includes some tools here. There's some keys for the bolts. And this is part of what makes it the Pro model. It comes with a little control interface, so you don't have to hook it up to a computer and control it through Mark III or whatever. You can actually do it right on the unit here. The standard, the old non-upgraded 2018 model, non-Pro, does not have this. There might be a few other differences, but that's really the main thing from a feature-wise perspective. More mounting stuff and screws. I think this is for the bed to mount your workpieces, if you don't have a vise to do that. Got a control board. And you know, again, it looks pretty much like a 3D printer control board. It's only got 3 steppers, because I think the motor just runs at 1 speed all the time. 3 stepper controllers. But otherwise, you know, you've got all your axes and stuff. So pretty typical. We've got a mini disc, mini CD here, burned, non-labeled, probably contains the manual and software and stuff. I don't know if I trust putting that in my computer. I might just look it up online. And finally, we have some cables. USB cable, this to the control device, and all for the steppers and the motor. And that's and some strips. And that's it. That's all that is in the box. So let's get to assembling. Okay, so I've got all the major parts laid out here, and honestly it looks pretty straightforward to assemble. If you just look at the pictures, there's only really one way to put it all together to get the right dimensions and so on. So I don't think I'll be doing a very thorough assembly video. I'll probably just set up a second camera here with a wide angle and do a time lapse, and then I'll stop if there's anything particularly challenging. But if you even just from looking at the pictures on Amazon, it's clear that these acrylic parts, the long ones, go front and back. Then you have these. These are doubled aluminum extrusions. They go on the sides. The other two here is part of the assembly for the x-axis, as well as the rods that fit that length. Then there's 3 other rods. Those are for the bed. These go underneath the bed, and the rods through them. You've got the front or the side assemblies here. Yeah, you just have to look a little bit closer on the pictures to figure out if they're going this way or that way. Yeah, the only challenging part is figuring out which screws goes where. I haven't looked in here to see how many different kinds of screw there is yet. So that might be a challenge. Looks to be a lot of the same kind of screws, so maybe it won't be that big of a deal. Now there's a spring that goes underneath the bed on the threaded rod to reduce backlash, I assume. And yeah, that's pretty much it. There's a few details I need to figure out yet, but like I said, it looks pretty straightforward. So I'll do a time lapse, and if there's anything particularly challenging, I'll slow it down. If I find a good guide, I mean, there's probably already some dude who's made a good assembly guide on this. So if on YouTube, so if I come across that, I'll link it down in the description, or if I find a good manual. But otherwise, it's pretty much just a matter of getting going. Like I said, it doesn't seem to be that much to it really. It's just a whole lot of screws you have to tighten up. So let me get that second camera set up, and let's get going. So there we have it. Unfortunately, my secondary camera ran out of batteries while I was building this. So I don't know how much I got, but it was fairly straightforward. I probably spent 30-45 minutes just studying the pictures and unpackaging and organizing everything. And then I simply just looked at the pictures on Amazon over here and just built it like it looked like in the pictures. That was basically all I did. We won't be running it much today. There's a few things I need to do to... First of all, I need an enclosure. When you're engraving, milling, routing, whatever, you're cutting away material and they'll end up all over my, well, this is my living room. So I need to build some sort of an enclosure. So I'll probably clear out a shelf in the lag rack and get some plexiglass and make some sides for that, and then we'll have a nice enclosure for it. And then I also need to adjust this a little bit. If we look around the sides here, the C assembly here needs to move back a bit. Then all these cables, there is some cable ties, just some zip ties with it. But really none of, even these for the stepper motors, all individual cables running to the plugs. So I may want to actually sleeve all those cables. I'm considering doing that. I need to get some tooling so I can do more stuff than just engraving. These bits that comes with is only for engraving. But all in all, yeah, like I said, I spent maybe 45 minutes preparing and then an hour assembling, and it works. We can just try moving a bit. Let's change the step rate here. You see it moving. We can move the x-axis as well, and we can move the z-axis, and we can turn on the spindle motor if I can remember which button. So everything seems to be working. That's very noisy though. That seems, well, it's on with some grub screws. I might have to try and reconnecting the tool holder down here. It sounds like it's not totally straight. It's not totally aligned. But it's fairly straightforward to assemble it. There's a few, well, is there anything in particular I want to mention? Let's cut the power here. Well, like I said, just look at the pictures. There's some fiddly work here and there that you'll just have to deal with. Using all these little brackets that goes into the T-slots here. That's fiddly work, but you know, you just have to deal with it. But otherwise it's pretty straightforward. I've got 5 brackets left and 1 screw. And there's some heat sinks, I guess, for the stepper drivers on the board. I haven't put them on yet. So I hope I didn't miss anything. Yeah, it's a pretty straightforward project. It seems to work out of the box. Of course, I haven't actually put it to work, but all things are moving as, oh sorry, I pushed my camera. All the things are moving like they should. And when you buy the upgraded model, you get this little control panel that I use to move it around. Alternatively, there is a USB port on the board, and there is a USB cable with it, so you can hook it up to a computer and use whatever CNC control software you want. I'm not sure what exactly it's compatible with, but we can figure it out. I'm sure I'll figure that out. And I'm sure you'll see much more of this machine in the future once I get it sorted out. Right now it's just like it came out of the box, and like I said, I definitely want to build an enclosure, and I want to do something about these cables rather than just zip tying them. I want a better solution for that. But well, so far I'm happy. So we'll see if I can. I will tell you for sure if I'm not happy with this product, like in a month or so. You will hear about it, but right now it seems to do exactly what it says it would do. It can move in all directions and it can spin the motor. And really, most people don't really expect much more out of these. But we will try and put it to work and see what it can really do besides that. So I'll leave a link down in the description to the exact product that I bought. But like I said, you can find them all over the internet. And until next time, take care.